What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be asking 3 simple questions that you need to ask yourself before buying used figures. Yes, that's right. Today we're going to be asking these 3 simple questions to ourselves before we buy used figures. Now, this was bred out of a conversation that I had recently with my good buddy Dave over at the Toy Aisle podcast. With that being said, I had the opportunity to buy this Michael Jackson Billie Jean figure, and I said, Dave, you're going to have to talk me into this. What are the 3 things that you did when trying to complete your collection? And I will talk about that in just a quick second. But before we do that, I wanted to say thank you to everyone that has really made the Collection Room Volume 5 something special. As of right now, we're sitting at around 2,200 views after only the first 6 days, and let's give ourselves a nice round of applause for that. That is very impressive. So thank you so much for the comments, thank you so much for the engagement, and thank you so much for the presumptive likes, which means if you've not done so already, go ahead and give a presumptive like to this one. I would certainly appreciate it. Now, all this goes to say that we are on a quest for 2,021 subscribers. That was our goal that we set at the very end of last year, and as of right now, we have crossed the 1,700 mark, meaning that we are just 300 shy of reaching our goal. I need you to help me get there, and I believe we certainly can with your continued engagement and your continued support. So, if you've not done so already, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, and if you've not checked out the Collection Room Volume 5, please do so. I promise you there's something for everybody in there. Even some of my friends that aren't even in collecting took a look at that and they're like, hey, that's actually pretty cool. So that link is in the description below. So let's get into the main event of what we're talking about today, the 3 questions you need to ask when buying used figures. Now, as I said, this came from a conversation between my good buddy Dave, the co-host of the Toy Aisle podcast. And I said, Dave, you recently was in this situation. What should I do? And he said, you know what, that is a great question, and thank you for bringing that up for me to have a little bit of FaceTime here on the channel. Because as you know, recently he just completed his 1977 full run of the vintage Kenner figures. And he said I only had 1 figure to go, and I was faced with these 3 questions. He needed EV-99, the elusive droid from Jabba's palace, to complete that run. With that all being said, he said these are the 3 things I had to ask myself, and it came down to need, to funds, and to condition. And we're going to take a look at all 3 of those and see whether or not I was able to apply that to my own figure here. So without further ado, let's get into the need of your figure. Now, talking about need can be kind of a tricky subject because if you're a collector, kind of like me, you need everything. But this is where we need to really drill down and see whether or not you actually do need or whether this is something you want. Now, as Dave said, he needed this figure because it was the last one that he had before he could complete an entire run. Now, if you're a collector like me, which I'm pretty sure most of you are, that if you're watching this channel, but if not, and you just want to hang out, we're glad you're here too. With that being said, there's nothing cooler than completing a line of figures. You're just needing that one to complete it, and that's kind of what I was in this situation for as well. Now, I needed this figure right here because it was the last of the Hot Toys Michael Jackson line. Now, it was so exclusive, in fact, that I'd almost written it off as saying, you know, there's not that many of them out there. I've actually done a video about Hot Toys Holy Grails, and this is one that actually is considered a Holy Grail because this came out back in 2009, right when MJ died, so there were not really that many of them out there. Plus, it was exclusive to Hong Kong, and they don't really come to the States very often. I've shared that story very, very frequently. So with that being said, I said, okay, I think I need this because I have an opportunity to get it and complete a line. Now, you need to ask that question to yourself. Is this something that you want, or is it something do you need? And if you can kind of weigh that in the balance and you say, okay, I'm completing a line, or this is the last figure to complete something in my display, then it definitely falls into the category of need as opposed to want. The main questions when you're buying something used that you're willing to take a risk on is whether or not you need it. So I'm going to check off that first box. I needed this figure. So let's move on to number 2, which is kind of the one that kind of gets us a little bit into trouble. Do I have the funds to do so? And is it at a reasonable price? With that being said, I will not shy away from it. This here is the single most expensive figure in my collection. And that's not a humble brag, that is just simply what it is. Now, aside from the Hulkbuster, of course, that's the most expensive single figure that I've ever purchased. But this is something that is well above retail, but I needed it anyway, as I said, and it was at a price that I was kind of comfortable with, and knowing that I wouldn't be able to get that again. Now, going back to Dave, he said, okay, do I have the funds to do so? Yes. Is this price fair and marketable? Yes. So he said, okay, I'm willing to start this bid, and I'm willing to go all in. Now, you need to ask your question on whether or not this is a major necessity for you. Is it something that you need? And then secondly, do you have the funds to do so? And is it at a price that is reasonable? Anybody can ask for a price on eBay. That doesn't mean that's what it's selling for. I've said it before in another video. It might be very helpful to check the sold listings on your figure to see what they're actually going for. Let's say, for example, that you are looking at a certain figure. It retailed for right around $250. Now, according to the eBay sold listings, it's averaging around $300, $350. Okay? If someone is sitting there and saying, okay, I want you to pay $450 for buy it now, that one doesn't make a lot of sense because that is not the trend. So you need to say, okay, it is available, I do need it, but the money and the funds and the asking price does not line up. It doesn't make sense. So in that situation, you would need to pass. You would need to hold, kind of like you're playing cards and you're kind of gambling a little bit. You're saying, I'm going to hold on this until it becomes available at a better price. Now, with this, as I said, they are so few and so frequent that infrequent rather, that I was willing to take a chance to say, okay, here is the starting point. Here is going to be my defined endpoint, and I will not go past that. And I think it's important for you as well, when you're buying a used figure, especially if you're in a bidding situation, whether it be eBay or something along those lines, that you say, this is the final point that I'm going to go to and not go over that. You need to set that for yourself and be able to decide whether you need it, whether the funds are there, and whether the pricing is right. And if you can answer those, then you need to ask another third question: is the condition up to snuff? Going back to Dave, the thing about the Star Wars Vintage Kenner line is that condition is going to be a huge factor. A lot of the figures out there are missing accessories, or they have broken arms, or have they broken heads, all kinds of situations that would disqualify it from being an actual purchase worth your time. So with this here, I had to decide, okay, is it in good enough condition based on everything that I'm seeing? And I also want to say that if you're going on buying anything used, this is a free extra point. Always ask for as much information as you possibly can, and ask for as many pictures as you can. If people aren't willing to provide you pictures of this item, you don't need to be getting it, because there's something very, very sketchy about something that is trying to be sold that someone isn't trying to actively help sell. So I was able to get all the pictures I needed. I was comfortable with that, and I said, okay, this condition makes sense to me. So I was able to check all the boxes. I needed this figure. I was able to say, okay, the price is where I want it to be. I have the funds to do so, and it does meet the condition requirement. So if you can go through and answer all three of those questions, then yes, you should go ahead and buy this used figure. And that bonus question you need to ask is, did I make the right choice? Once you have your figure in, there's always an opportunity to kind of reevaluate and say, is this everything that I wanted it to be? Because one of the other little points that Dave told me, I said, I don't know, what if I get here and I make the mistake of saying this is not something that I thought it was going to be? Well, the good thing is, because you did your homework, you made sure that you're getting a quality used piece. If you decide that it does not fit in your collection, you can always flip it later and resell it. Because if you are willing to pay the price, and it was a price that you were comfortable with, you certainly can flip that back around and move it out of the collection if that's something that you're not really keen on, or you don't think it's going to fit overall. It's much better to go ahead and pull the trigger knowing that it's a need, knowing that you have the funds and the pricing is right there, and that it's in good enough condition. Because if you happen to get it and you say, I'm done, go ahead and relist it, put it out there for someone else to enjoy, because there's nothing worse than passing on a used figure, knowing that you could have completed a line, and then regretting it down the line. So with that being said, I am happy to report that I was able to receive this piece that I was looking for. Thank you, Dave, for helping me answer those questions. And I am saying no, I will not be moving this on, because this truly is a Grail piece that I was looking for and looking forward to completing inside the collection. Now that's going to do it for us today. I know it was a little bit of a shorter video, and hopefully these are a little more digestible so that you can try to get a few facts and fun things out there. But I do want to say that if you have not done so already, go ahead and give me a like, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because we have another very important topic that we're going to be talking about next week that I want you to make sure that your notifications are turned on for. That is the dangers of collecting backwards. Ooh, yes, spooky, isn't it? Because we're entering that spooky season, we're going to be talking about the dangers of collecting backwards. You say, what are you talking about? Well, I guess you'll have to tune in next week to figure out what those dangers are. So that's going to do it for us here today. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel if you've not done so already. And of course, I will see you in our next video.